Hi there, I'm Sarah Sordi with Sarah Sordi Insurance Services, and I'm here to talk to you with you about your auto insurance. Now, many times I ask people, what are your limits that you have on your auto insurance? And they tell me, I've got full coverage. Well, there's really no such thing as full coverage. What I think most people are referring to when they say they have full coverage is that they have comprehensive and they have collision. So they have coverage for the vehicle itself if it gets damaged. But there's really no such thing as full coverage because the amount of things that can happen are really, what if you crash into a gas station? Do you have enough coverage? If exploded, if multiple people were injured or even died, you probably don't have enough coverage. And I'm not telling you you need to have these millions of dollars of insurance. I'm just kind of telling you, I want you to be educated and know what your policy really covers. So let's say you get in an accident and you cause injury to people in the other car. So this is kind of a breakdown of the coverages that are on your policy. So if people were hurt in that other car, this is where this is going to be. I just kind of throw up here some dummy numbers, and these are not limits that I usually recommend, but okay. So bodily injury per person. Okay, so what the bodily injury is going to cover is they're going to cover, first of all, medical bills. So that can be so many different things. So that is the ambulance ride to the hospital visit. Maybe they had to have multiple x-rays, labs run, maybe they have to stay overnight, maybe they have to stay for a few days. Maybe they need to have surgery, their follow-up visits, chiropractor visits. Let's say they broke their leg and they have to have surgery on that. They have to go to physical therapy after it. So it can really, really, really add up. I've seen $100,000 paid for a broken leg by an insurance company. So you can use your imagination and think of all the worst things that can happen, and if you really have enough coverage. So again, the first thing is going to be medical bills. The second part is loss of income. So that is the people who are injured in the other car, they're out of work for a period of time. That's going to be here. Pain and suffering, loss of consortium. You can Google that one, but basically unable to have sexual relations. But let's say gardener, childcare. So let's say it was the male in the house who did the yard work, and now he's out, something's wrong with him, and he cannot mow the lawn, and he usually mowed the lawn. Well, now you need a gardener because you need to have your life back to the way it was before. The purpose of insurance is to make you whole, to make it you like you were before you had the incident. It's not really for you to profit or benefit from it. It's just really for you to be made whole. Or let's say, the wife did all the carpooling, that type of stuff, and now something's happened to her, and maybe she was the one who stayed home. Maybe she stayed home with the children, and now she can't take care of the kids. Maybe she's in the hospital, so now you need to pay for childcare for your kids. So that would be another expense too, or of course funeral expenses. So just even an example of this, I think it's about 7 years ago now, another car came and T-boned into my husband, and 2 of my daughters were in the car and totaled out our car, and they did have to take the ambulance to the hospital, all 3 of them, and it was actually just soft tissue, so it really wasn't that bad, but they were out of there that night, and then my husband was definitely out of work. My daughter, it was the 4th of July weekend, was very shooken up and just kind of traumatized from the whole thing. So all these medical bills and my husband's loss of income, those were all covered by the insurance here now. Okay, so let's say you got in an accident and you had these 50,000, 100,000 limits, okay? The insurance company is going to pay that 50,000 probably pretty quickly because they know in the long run they're going to end up paying 50,000 for a broken leg. Okay, so they're not going to waste all their resources fighting it. Attorney fees, which would be the most expensive part of that, if they feel that they're going to pay that in the long run. So they kind of would pay this, they have the documentation that it really caused from the accident or whatever this injury is, and then they'll pay the other party. Now, the thing is, once this limit's paid up, it's on you. So they're going to be suing you, they're going to be going after your assets, all that type of stuff. So you want to make sure that you have higher limits. Because at least the way I look at it, it gives me the peace of mind that the insurance company is handling it. Because once the policy limits are paid out, you're responsible for those attorney fees and all the claims processing. Because once the policy limits paid out, it's no longer on the insurance company. So you would be the one to be handling all that. So I always recommend that you have a little bit higher limits just so that it gives you that peace of mind, and they will be handling the claim for you, and you don't have to worry about getting sued and them going after all your assets. And another thing is a lot of times people think, oh, well, I don't even really have any assets, I'm young or whatever. They look at your earning potential. So that is something that definitely gets taken into consideration, your future earnings. Here, property damage. So property damage is somebody else's property that you damage. So that would be a tree, which, believe it or not, actually costs a lot, especially those little twig trees. I've seen $5,000 paid for a little twig tree because they look into how long it's been growing. So that's part of that. But anyways, so this is if you hit a couple people's cars, or sometimes these days, some people have cars about this much. Again, that gas station, that would be property damage. So any other person's property. So, if you have one of these policies that has only $10,000 for property damage, that's not going to get you very far. Okay, now uninsured motorist, this is if the other party doesn't have insurance at all, maybe they have no insurance, maybe they leave the scene, or maybe they just have low limits but have absolutely no assets. The accident that I was talking about before with my husband and my children, it was actually like a 90-year-old lady that had absolutely no assets anyways, and she had minimum limits, and thankfully we had high limits here, so we were taken care of. So because basically her limits got used up, she had only $15,000 on her policy, and I think she had like $10,000 for property damage. Well, our policy came and took care of us and filled in the difference because my car was totaled out. So they paid us the difference to get my car, just the actual cash value of my car, and paid for our injuries because my husband had to go and my children to the chiropractor. He had to actually get cortisone shots in his back. All those types of things were paid for by our insurance because we had this uninsured motorist coverage. Now another part is medical payments insurance. Now, so this is a part that I actually see gets left off of policies a lot, but it's very, very important. So medical payments coverage is for you. So if you cause the accident and you're injured, let's say you have a solo accident and you're hurt really, really bad. Maybe you have to have multiple surgeries, things done to you like this, and multiple surgeries, go to the chiropractor many times. And the chiropractor, you gotta like pay a copay every single time you go. It's $50, $25, whatever it may be. You probably have medical insurance, but the thing is, these days, there's a lot of people who have high deductibles, and even if you don't have a high deductible, you have those high copays. So like I was saying, when you're going to the chiropractor, you gotta pay $40, $50 every time. And you don't want to not go to the chiropractor because you don't want to pay the $50. You might as well just have, if you're paying for insurance, you want to have the coverages that you need when you have a claim, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I paid all this money and then now I have a claim and the things that I would like to submit to my insurance are not covered. So you want to make sure that you have the right coverages. So medical payments is your out-of-pocket expenses if you're hurt. So let's say if you got to go get prescriptions filled, which my husband did in the accident, and all those co-pays and out-of-pocket deductibles. This way you're taken care of there. And comprehensive. So comprehensive is anything else besides an accident that happens to your car. So that would be if your car gets stolen, if it got keyed, if it got hail damage, not that we have a whole lot of that here, but if you got hail damage, or if you hit an animal like a deer or something in the road, that actually is considered comprehensive damage as well. And then the last part is a collision deductible. So that is if you get in an accident, that's the deductible that you have to pay before any of the other claims are paid. So if your damage is $2,500 and you've got a $500 deductible, the insurance company is going to pay $2,000. Now, I would recommend that you have a $1,000 deductible if you have a lot of driving activity, so you've got tickets and accidents. I would recommend that you have a $1,000 deductible to save some money there. Or if you have an expensive car, let's say Lexus, Mercedes, whatever, any kind of like sporty car, I would recommend that you have a $1,000 deductible. I mean, if you can afford it, it helps you save some money there too, because one of the big rating factors in your insurance policy is how expensive your car is, and you know, if it's more sporty, how likely it is to get in an accident. And most of the policies that I offer include roadside assistance and towing. So I hope that you have found this video of help, and I've answered any of your questions. If you have more, please feel free to email me and let me know. Thank you. Bye-bye.